emails from the events page.
So she was just mentioning about sending tests. So when you click on send test of an email, this little pop-up opens up. I'm an admin, so I don't really have a profile in here, but if I did have a profile, it would have automatically, it would fill in my email address. It'll fill in your email address, whoever's logged in here. And then you can also add 3 more email addresses. And if you have more than 3 people that you need to send it to, you send the first test and then you click on send test and you do it to whoever you want to send it to. And then I think that was Ginny talking.
Yeah.
The beginning of the subject line when they get it will say test. So they'll know it's a test email. But you can send as many tests to as many people as you want. And then as far as the emailing connected to the events, yeah, we'll get into that when we get to that. So what we're going to start this session with is just really some basic editing to your website pages. We're going to focus on the home page. So the home page here, again, when I'm logged in, I can either get to the home page by going to the control panel, website tab, and then home. But that's 3 clicks. Let's just go when I'm logged in on the home page, I use the flyout menu here and I hit edit. This is the same on any of the other pages. If you needed to change something on your educational opportunities page, you can just get right to it from here. Okay. But again, we're going to focus on the home page and I am going to click edit. And I'm going to look at the active version. So right here, this tells me this version is active. It doesn't make sense to make a change to a version that's not active because this is going to have your most up-to-date info. And I'm going to edit this by going to Actions and Edit. And the things that I wanted to kind of show you here, I'm not going to do any editing to her page, but I just wanted to show you a few little things. This icon right here, if I hover over it, it tells me the visibility. So this 2 people this means that this row is visible to the public and the members. If I click on it once, it changes to it's not visible. Only I can see in the back end while I'm editing, I can see that row. Nobody else can see that row. I'm going to click on it again. This means that only the public can see that row. And then if I click on it one more time, you get this little lock. That means only members who are logged in can see that row. This is something that's very helpful because instead of having to create multiple custom pages, maybe you have videos that you want to provide to your members to see. And then you also have some videos that non-members can see as well. You can create one custom page of videos. And then one row can be the videos that your members can see, and another row can be the videos that the public can see. And you would just, instead of having to create 2 different custom pages, you would just create one custom page and change your row visibilities. And let me change that back to everybody. Another thing here are these modules. So I'm going to go over a few of the built-in modules within Club Express that you might want to consider using. This row tool here, or row templates here, this is if I wanted to add an additional row. And again, it's just kind of like a drag. You can see this row here is a 33, 33, 33. She has no content here and no content here, but she's got this 33 here so that it shows up in the center of the row. So let's say I want to do something, maybe I want a 5th. I want 3/5 or 25 or 2020, 2020, and I want to put something here and something here. So I drag that roll over. I click on that box that I want to put something in. You can see it highlights the box a little bit here. And then I want to put in I can do text, I can do links, images, all these things over here I can do. But I want to look at some of the widgets that you can also do. And also some of the other little specialties. Maybe I wanted to do a QR code, or I just want to put my Facebook link in there, or I want to do right here, she's got the job boards, but let's see. I want to do, if I'm collecting members' birthdays, This is something within the profile. I don't know if anybody's using birthdays, but I'm just going to use this as an example. I could pull over birthdays and I'm going to change that title. I want it to say member birthdays. And I want to show any birthdays that are coming up within the next 30 days. I want the widget to fill the width of the box. So I'm going to keep it as container width 100%. But let's say I have a lot of members and I don't want it to be this one long box. So I want it to only be 200 pixels high. And then what'll happen is if the member birthdays are more than 200 pixels high, you'll have a scrolling widget or a scroller banner on the side so that people can scroll. So do I want to include birthdays, blah, blah, blah. Again, this is just an example, but all of these little things that you pull over are similar to this. So now I click apply change and there you go. Stacy's the only one with a birthday coming up. But maybe I don't want everybody to see that. I only want members to see that row. So I change that to members with the little lock. So that's how you can kind of do some row tools. But I also want to look at widgets too. It's the same thing, but let's see. So you can get to it the same way, but where is, oh, countdown. Here's a widget that might be of interest to you. Countdown. There's two different types of countdowns. This is the way they look. And let's say you want to count down to a conference on June 1st. And the conference starts at 7:30 in the morning. And I want it to look like this version here. And I'm actually going to add a link to that event. Let's see. See, nothing is coming up here. That means she has nothing on the calendar in that type, in that category. Okay, so emerging professionals. So she's got an event for emerging professionals on 4/13. And I want to, with that link, I want it to show up as a text. I can change the text to click here to register. And then it's just going to be a regular link with text with an underline, or I can do a button. Click here to register. Or I can do an image from my web graphic. Maybe I have an image special for this event. Or I can do a QR code. We'll go into QR codes later, but let's do the button. And I want it to open up in the same window. And then I hit apply. And now we've got the countdown widget. This 20% box is too small for it, but I got the countdown widget and click here to apply. Now, I realize that this is too small for this box and I don't want it here. I actually want it up here. So I'm going to click on this box and I'm going to hit copy. And then I'm going to click on this box and I'm going to drag paste. And that's how you can easily move things around on the home page or any of your custom pages. This one, I still don't like how it looks because it's all left centered. So I'm going to click on that box and I'm going to go to my style. And I am going to change the alignment to center. And then, you know, I want to have it stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to click on it again and go to style. And I'm going to add a background color of and it didn't select that color, but you can see it did the whole row, but I only want to do the box. And this right here is something that in Club Express that's glitchy. Sometimes you may have to do this 15 times and you just keep going back to style. So right now I'm lit. I've got the whole row lit. I want to change this background to white. Okay, now it's white. But I want this box only. So now just this is lit. And now just that box is lit or changed colors. Okay. Again, though, a lot of times, like I could click on this 15 times and it'll tell me that I don't have a color in the background, and you have to just keep clicking until it says what the color is, and then you can make the edit. Let's see. So I built a link to an event, but let's say I want to build a link to a document instead. It works the same way. I'm going to remove that link and I'm going to click add a link. And I'm going to, up here is where you decide what you're trying to link to. Am I linking it to a custom page, built-in module, photo album, etc.? I'm going to go to a document. And again, I have to select the folder. And now these little icons right here with the plus sign, that means that there's subfolders below that. So there's a lot of subfolders here, and I find which one I want to link to. Let's say I'm going to link to templates and sources. Now it opens up another thing here where I can either link to the entire folder or I can link to one specific document within that folder. Again, I can do the link as text, button, image, however I want to build the link. Do I want it to open in the same window or a new window? Link tracking will tell you whether or not somebody has clicked on that link, and I'm not going to go too deep into that right now. And then again, you can change the type. You can just say click for document or whatever you want, and we're going to do text this time. Save, apply change, and now it's changed here. Another kind of cool widget, so I don't want to save her, so I'm going to, before I accidentally hit save and apply, I'm going to cancel. You can either save and make active, and it'll make that home page immediately active, or I can save that version and exit, which means that all the changes I've made are not going to be visible on the home page. You can save and continue. If you're working a lot in the website, I recommend saving it as you're going, because you could be in here for an hour making edits and something goes wrong. Club Express loses all its web pages for an hour. Your internet goes down. So I recommend saving as you go. Okay. But I'm going to hit cancel. And then I want to show you what the accordion widget looks like. And again, this is something you can put on your homepage or any other. There's 3 different accordion widgets within Club Express. There's this one here. There's 2 different, and then there's tabs. So if you look here, I've got tab. It's got some sample hello, sample good. I just put that in. I typed that in. And then tab 3. Working really quickly within and not going too deep in this. So I've done a row here of 25, 50, 25. And I'm going to go into this accordion widget. Again, it's one of the widgets within Club Express, and it's down here. You can find it and you just drag it to where you want it. And I am going to configure this widget. And this is where you can change how it looks. You can change. Sorry, with it being so big, it's hard to move around. You can change the color. You can change what the I don't know what you'd call this, but here I've got it as a plus, minus. You can do it as the border arrow, the arrows that I have over here. Well, I'll show you in a minute. You can change the background color. You can change the size of the font. You can change the font type. You can change a lot of things here. And then you save once you made your change, but I want to add more. I don't want it to just be one single one. So then I add another panel and I edit that, and I can put some text here. And save that. And I can do my settings here, and I'm going to go Arial. I'm going to go 14. I'm going to use the double down black arrow. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and throw a border on this one. See, this is what it's going to look like here. I'm going to change the background color to this'll. Select, and the title text color I want to use. Oops. And then that's what it looks like. And then I hit save. Oh, I'm going to put title here. Container width, again, I just keep container width at 100. I could to a fixed width of, let's say, 50 pixel. Apply. But see, it makes more sense to do container width because otherwise you're going to be playing with pixels. And then also, and try to figure out what the best pixel size is, as well as if somebody's looking on a larger screen versus their telephone, etc., it's going to change. So if you do container width, no matter what size computer, it's going to adjust to that size frame or to that size screen. Okay, so that's the difference.
We need to move on to the multi-activity event.
Yep.
We're running a little behind. So
And sorry about that. And that is actually, that was pretty much all I wanted to talk to you about with that. So let's see. So now we're going to talk about a multi-activity event. This is going to be a little bit more confusing and difficult to work with. I'm going to quickly as I can, create a multi-activity event that I'm going to start with this one. This is a single activity. See, it says single activity. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to call this the suppliers. And I'm going to do it on the same day. But again, it's single activity, so I'm going to edit it.
And when your screen, Yvonne, I don't see it.
My screen's not showing?
Nope.
I see you.
Do you see?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't. I'm so sorry.
Okay. So now in the basic info, I'm going to go to edit, and this is where I can change it from a single activity to a multi-activity. And what that does is that is going to add more than one activity that people can attend. And it's automatically, I can't click on it, it's automatically going to add it. I'm also going to check questions and after event because I want to show you that as well. And I'm going to save. And now see, it added those things over here. So everything over here is what you have to set up. And when you're done setting up everything, change it to green, say that it's complete. I'm skipping formatted description because again, that's where you're going to add graphics, more details. Event contact, we went over already. Location, the one thing I wanted to just quickly go over on location is it could ask you if, let's see, if you have somebody in your organization who has already set up under website events, configure locations. Let's say you have, this is a good way to save some time. If you have your events at 5 different locations and they're always at those 5 different locations, add them here. So I'm just going to quickly add 123 Main Street. Oops. Okay, so now when I go to that event, suppliers, and I edit, when I go to location, it has this button here. And now I can choose from a drop down. I only have one in there. I can choose the location. So it's just going to make it a little quicker instead of having to type a new location all the time. This is also where you would set it up if it's virtual. So this is physical. I am going to actually make this event virtual. I don't know if you guys have Zoom and if you have incorporated your Zoom into your account, but if you did, you can actually quickly create a brand new event Zoom link within Club Express right here, if it were linked to your Zoom, or you could, but I think a lot of you seem to be using Teams, so I want to quickly go over something with Teams. If you're doing a virtual meeting, and it is a Teams link. A Teams link is too long to fit in here. It won't fit. So you're going to have to do something like a tiny URL or bit.ly. So you would just go to tiny URL. It's free. You drop in your long one. It gives you a short one. And then that you can put in your location and it will fit. Okay. We've had that come up with you guys in the past where the Teams didn't fit. So I'm going to go back to physical. I'm going to keep home. I'm going to save that and make this complete. We already did all of these things. Now we're going to go to activities. So this is where you've got the activities. So I'm going to create one quick activity and one quick item and to explain the difference. This is an activity. I'm going to edits, and this is booth registration. Okay, so this one for booth registration, I'm going to say it's at the same location, so I'm not going to click there. If it were at multiple locations, I could change the location of where this is. Registration and fees, questions, registrations. Okay, so this tells you it's an activity. It's not an item. There is an option to add items. So this is an activity, and I am going to go to registration and fees. Is this registration, is it required to attend? I'm going to say yes. Now, these are the options. Let's say this one is required. In order to exhibit at a conference, they have to buy the booth. So this is required. So I'm going to change it to required. And do I have a capacity limit? All this is kind of self-explanatory, so we're not going to go over because we went over it in basics. Will a fee be charged? Yes. Does the fee change? Let's just quickly on this one just say yes, it does. It changes on 2/25/2026. Okay. Track attendance, yes. So what I did here is I'm requiring the person to register for this. They have to register and pay for this in order to come and in order to do anything else. Then I create the registrant types who can register. It's got all of these because I copied my single activity, but let's just leave that alone. But for now, we'll just leave that alone because that's fine. But we do want to change here because I said it was a late fee. So the late fee, it's not a late fee, it's the new price. So it's $50 until the 15th, and then it becomes $75. And you have to change every one of them, and then you have to hit save. Okay. And then we're going to quickly go over questions as well. Now, well, let's create a new item here first. Now, that's the booth. You can also have an item. Now, an item is just a little bit easier to work with. Maybe you have an item that is a gold sponsorship. And so now they have to buy the booth, but they have the option to also buy a gold sponsorship. And then all the same thing, registrations and fees, but see, this says it's an item. Who can register? Now this is where I'm going to have to copy it. Let's say for this one, only the member can buy this one, and it's $500. Once I add that down here, I can hit save. Now that's the only person who can order, who can buy that one. Now, let's see what's the best way to talk about a question. As an example, you might have a vendor, your trade show, where the sponsor, the vendor, the supplier is coming, and they have options where they can purchase one sponsorship that comes with 3 tickets, one sponsorship that comes with 2 tickets, one sponsorship that comes with 1 ticket. When you're registering them, you want to ask them, or when they're registering, you want to ask them who's coming, who's using those tickets, what are the names, because you have to create name tags. So you would have to have a question for each one of those activities. So let's change this to 2 tickets. And I'm going to change this to that it is not required. It is optional. And then I am going to copy this one. And I'm going to make this one 1 ticket. Now I want to move this. This is how it would display on the page, but I want to change that display sequence. So I'm going to click here on display sequence, and I'm going to move this up 1 and then hit save. And now it's booth 2 tickets, booth 1 ticket, gold sponsorship. Now I need to go to the questions. You have to create the questions actually up in the admin. So this is control panel, website tab, events, And then here is where you go to configure event questions. So I'm going to add a question that is 2 tickets. And I'm just going to say something like names. Okay. Now this is a short text one, and it only gives you 100 spaces to type the answer. So I'm going to change this to long text. And now I want you to notice something else, just as a little tip. When I change this, see how it says names here? When I change this to long text, all of that text clears. So if you ever have to change your question, make sure you copy the text so that you don't have to retype it. So now I'm just going to retype names. Now it gives me up to 4,000. I don't want 4,000. Let's say I want 500. You can go lower, but you can't go higher than that number. Is the response required? Yes. Save. Now I'm going to add another question for 1 ticket. And that is going to be a long text. Oops. See, now I did not hit it required, so I'm going to go back and edit and change it to required yes. And I'm just going to add one more question that has nothing to do with anything. I'll just put guest. And this one, short text, we're going to do required, save. Okay. So now when I go back to the events and I find that event and I edit, now I need to attach those questions to the specific activity. So, sorry, activity. And if I were to try and add this question, 2 tickets, here's my 3 different questions I created. I'm going to add 2 tickets. It's required, it's visible, and I'm going to save that. So now if somebody clicks this option, this activity to when they register, they're going to be required to answer that question. If I go to this question and try to add a ticket, that question, 2 tickets, is no longer there. So that's why you cannot add the same question to multiple activities. So you have to have a question for each one. We get asked that question a lot, so that's why I'm stressing it. And you can have multiple questions for 1 activity. And then let's just see here. And now I only have 1 question left. But let's delete that just so that you understand. I'm going to delete that question from this. I'm going to go back to activities. I'm going to go to the 1 ticket questions. Right now there's the booth 1 ticket and or that guest question, and I'm going to add a second question. So now that shows you that you can add multiple questions to 1 activity, but only this 1 question can only go to 1 activity at a time in an event. Now you can reuse those questions for next year. It's not like you have to rebuild those questions for another event. Even if you have an event next week and you want to capture the same information, you can reuse those questions in a new event. You just can't reuse the question in the same event in the same or multiple activities. Excuse me. That's pretty much the only thing I wanted to show you in that. But Kaylee, if we did have the question about points tracking. So Kaylee, if you could jump in here and go over that. I have the after event here.
Yes. So for points tracking, if you track points or if you track hours, or both, maybe you check both, you will want to make sure that you have tracking turned on in your event. You can make sure that tracking is turned on under the registrations and fees tab. Yep. So right there, this is being that it is a multi-activity event. I think it may be under activities.
Yes, you're right. So as a single activity event, it would be under the registration. As a multi-activity event, you could be tracking different activities. So you could just track, one activity or all of the activities. It's up to you. So this is set to yes, track activity.
Yep. So registrations and fees is what you're looking for under activities, or just under the left panel there if it's a single activity event. Then you will want to make sure you have after the event turned on. Tracking after the event will allow you to provide an event certificate if you're tracking that as well. Basically, you want to have tracking turned on so that you can record attendance in the back end of the event. So during your events, most people might take attendance by hand or have a table where attendees will sign in. Someone will mark attendance by hand at the meeting or at the event. And then after the fact, you will, as long as you have had tracking turned on in the back end of the event, you will find attendance.
So here's the after event. So
Yes.
there's no certificate. I just wanted to double check that. And then registration and fees. So this is one of Ginny's events. And she's tracking. So then
Perfect.
she has this attendance up here.
So this actually has to be done within, this is very important, 90 days of the event. If you want to make sure those points and hours get logged in the member's profile, you must complete this action within 90 days. So what you will do is you will click mark attendance for registered members, non-members, or guests. A quick and easy way to do this is by checking all and maybe deselecting one or two that didn't show up and saving. We're not going to save for this case, but you get the idea. Now, what that basically does is tell the system who attended the event. Beyond that, you will need to go into the points tracking module itself.
Let me just show one thing before we go there. If you try to do it from the front end, so this is the front end, and you have to track people, you have to do them all individually. So it's much easier to mark people attended from the back end. Otherwise, you have to click on each one and say whether they attended or not.
Yes, much easier to do check all in the back end. So points tracking is under the website tab, admin functions. And in points tracking, you can set whether or not you'd like to track points, hours, or both. When I told you earlier that you have 90 days to mark attendance, you also have 90, well, not to mark attendance, but to complete this whole process. That is because the preferred method of doing this involves bulk uploading points and hours. And in order to bulk upload points and hours, you must do it within 90 days. The way that you will do that is, can you go ahead and click add hours? Awesome. That category dropdown, can you go back, please? To the previous page. Import from, sorry, I clicked the wrong button. Import from an event. So this import from an event is how you will bulk upload points and hours. The events that are listed here in this dropdown will expire after 90 days. So that's why it's important. If you wait beyond those 90 days, you will have to submit points and hours for every single individual member, which is very painstaking. So you'll find the event after you have tracked the attendance, like we just showed you. Within 90 days, you will find the event, click on it. If it is multi-activity, you'll select which activity you're uploading hours or points for. This group simply tracks hours, not points. And you will assign, perhaps it was in a 1 hour event, you will assign 1 hour and import. Once you've done that, it automatically uploads those points to the member's profile.
That have been marked attended.
That have been marked attended.
Haley, it's Jenny. I want to make a comment. members can actually submit. So if they say, hey, it's not showing up on my profile, but I was there, and they can prove it via registration, maybe somehow we missed them. They have, and I've seen them submit it manually, and we're able to approve them on the back end after the 90 days. This was before we were discovering that 90 days, all of a sudden, the events were dropping off. It is possible, so don't feel like you have to do it for every member. It's really their profile, it's their transcript. So they're responsible for saying, hey, my transcript is not accurate. Therefore, I'm gonna go ahead and do that extra work and account for that on my profile. And then they can ping us back and say, it's there, can you go look at it and then approve it or disapprove, whichever.
Oh yeah, that's great. And if you do have them submit them themselves, it will show up here by clicking search. In this case for Washington, we may not see anything show up, see no submitted points at this time. But if there were some, you could click on the actions and you as an admin would go in and approve them. Thanks, Jenny.
So I have a question with regards to the transactions and what Jenny was saying about allowing the end user to put in their points. I noticed that at ours, it's locked, period. So is there something that we have to do on the administrative side to allow the end user to put in their points and track it and then have them approved?
I don't know the answer to that.
Let's take a look at this. Do we want to keep that for Q&A or do that right now?
I can investigate and we can save it for later.
What's the organization?
What chapter?
Yeah, which chapter was that? Copper chapter? Okay.
Okay, because we're visual. Vicky, if you go to my, I guess I'm not sure. So basically for me, I'm looking as a member where I can add hours. I just go to my profile, under members profile. And then I scroll down the bottom, says histories. I go points, hours, history. There's a button there called add hour.
Yes, so that
Is not turned on for you guys?
must not be turned on. It must not be turned on.
That add hours is not turned on ours. And then, so I'm a member of Copper Chapter and Arizona NIGP. And so Arizona NIGP has where you can add it, but they don't really allow you to add any points. So they told me that their points can only be added if it's one of their events. And I was always so I learned that part, but I was always under the impression like if you're taking classes that you could add them there, because I was thinking for the court like CPP when you have to provide your transcripts. So currently Copper Chapter doesn't have that, and it doesn't have the ability for us to add it, and we're here trying to learn so that we can add it for others. So this is very helpful.
I think it has to do with a category, and we have several categories on our website. Because we also noticed that people were submitting for NIGP and we're like, no, that's duplication. We're not going to certify you for those hours. So I've basically deactivated that. So the only thing that we are giving them points for is NIGP offerings. And so that clarifies that, but I could see the need for they wanna somehow, yeah.
Do we wanna, I don't know if there's more questions related to this, just flag this as an area we may want to touch upon in office hours?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
All right, I was just gonna say, because there seems to be a few folks who have very specific questions around that. Ronnie, if you can flag that, and maybe we could do a deep dive in one of the upcoming office hours.
Yeah, the points tracking, FYI, was created for you guys for NIGP, and it's very involved. And so, yes, we could spend an hour on that alone. Okay, so the other thing we can spend an hour on is membership. So, and we talked about merging members. You had a question about that. Somebody mentioned that they had two memberships with two different email addresses. So we're gonna start looking at that. I'm going to go back to my sample website here. And I am going to log in as somebody else. So first thing I want to talk about is agency memberships and renewing them. It's always a nightmare. I'm sure for every one of you, but also a nightmare for us because there's always a lot of cleanup and it's not an easy process within Club Express. So I'm going to show you the correct way that hopefully we can get your members to do, for your agency members to do. So I'm going to log in here as a different user. And I am going to log in as this profile, who is the primary member of what you would call an agency. And right away I get a notice that says my membership has expired. So just as an FYI, here's the name up here. But if I wanted to go to one of these other pages, it kicks me out. So somebody who's expired cannot go anywhere on your website until they renew. So that's just a nice little thing to know. So let's go back, log in, and it brings me right here to renew. So I am an agency, but I want to first go to my profile. Well, that's not going to work. Let's see. Never works the way you want it. Okay, so I'm going to renew, and I'm going to hit next. And now I'm going to look at my members. The problem is because I'm expired, I'm stuck with these members. I can't delete them here. If I hadn't been expired and it was my time to renew, what I would want to do is I would want to go to my profile and I would want to update my members and then I would want to renew. That's the correct steps for your agency members. Before they expire, log into the website. They should log into the website, not you. The primary member should log into the website, go to their member profile, look at their secondary members. So I'm going to log in. Go to my profile. I don't have secondary members, so I'm going to have to use another example. Actually, I'll use Jenny. People tab. People manager. And they would go to their profile. I'm doing this fast, but we're going to go over it in a minute. Yours are, Jenny, your members that are just called renewing members, right?
Yeah. Are we talking about just a category of people? Yeah.
All right, so let's look at this one here. They would go to their profile, go to their additional members in their account. This one doesn't have any secondary, but let's say it had secondary. They would delete who their secondary is that they no longer want to have. They would add additional secondaries that they do want to add. Then they would hit save, and then they would renew. That's the correct process to do it. If they don't do that, it's going to require cleanup on your end in the back end. Okay. So let's look at the duplicate members. Let's start with that one. Which organization was that? The one that said that you had two memberships?
Chapter.
Arizona Copper. Town of Marana Copper Chapter has more than one. You guys hear that? Copper Chapter?
Copper chapter? Okay. And then what is your last name?
Edwards.
Edwards. Okay. So I went to the people manager. Again, I'm clicking on both and all. And what is your first name?
Maria.
So Maria has two profiles. One is a non-member. See, if I hadn't clicked on both, I would not have seen that she has an active non-member account. So she has a non-member active and a member active. And we want to merge these two together. What we do to merge these two types together is we go to the non-member active, and this is the one, right? Yes, Town of Mayor. Okay, perfect. I'm going to go to non-member active, actions, more options, merge, and I'm going to merge it with a member. What's the name of the member that I'm merging it with? Edwards, Maria, select, save. And now she only has one profile. And any history that was in that non-member profile is now merged into this profile. So it's very important to do that. Okay. Now, what happens if you have 3 different non-member profiles, etc.? See if we can find one that's real. This isn't going to be a good example. Let's see. Well, let's start with, let's say there are 2 non-member profiles and 1 member profile. You can merge the 2 non-members together and then merge the non-members into the member, or you can just merge the first non-member with the member, the second non-member with the member. If anybody has an example that they know of that we could look at, we could definitely look at that together. But that's what you need to do to clean up. You want to try and keep your database clean. That's why I do recommend, like I said, always clicking on both and all when you're looking for anybody, even no matter what you're looking for them for, because you just never know. You might find that you have multiple profiles in there. Now, let's go back to Edwards, because you did say something about your email address. One had a different email address. I'm just going to quickly click on this. Is this the email address you wanted?
I can't see that far. Does it say Edward? What's the email address?
V Edwards?
That's the email address. That's correct.
Okay. And if it weren't correct, we would just again go to the actions, profile, basic member info, and change the email address and then hit save.
You had mentioned a little bit earlier about primary and secondary. So I'm the primary account holder for the town of Marana, and we have secondary. And I'm curious, we had switched, so it's myself and I think about 3 other people. But I'm wondering if one of our previous employee was still there.
Okay, so there's 2 ways to do it. If you're going to be editing it, you have to go to the profile and then click on additional members. But first, I'm just going to show you the quick, easy way to look. This is your profile, actions, secondary and tertiary. You don't have tertiary. You can just ignore that. You can't change that. And then that tells you right there that those are the 3 names that are secondary under you.
That is correct.
And then if you wanted to go to one of their profile, because it's underlined in blue, it's a link. I could open this person's profile. But if you clicked on that and you realized that Sylvia is not supposed to be there, then you would go to your profile and either from the front end or the back end, additional members in your account. And here is Sylvia. I would remove and then I would save. Now, maybe you need to add somebody. This is where you would also add a secondary member. Now, without having specific examples to fix and clean up, we're going to have to just kind of play a little bit here on a couple little things. Let's say that we have, let's look at, as you can see, you might have noticed that I use this drop down and I can search with a lot of different features. So I want to search with the member type, and I want to add a filter, and I want to search with member level. So my member type I'm going to look for is agency, and my member level is going to be primary. And I hit search.
I do have a question, since you're on agencies. If you go to City of Tucson, we have 2 new employees that need to be added. But when I tried this in the past, I've added to someone's membership, it doesn't charge them a fee. So how do we make sure that we're capturing fees for members that are added after renewal?
Is City of Tucson one of Copper?
Yes, as far as Copper chapter.
Okay. Right here under the people options, it says change for membership, charge for membership changes made through the profile. And then can secondary members be added outside the sign up? So you're not charging for secondary members when they get added outside the sign up.
Which is renewal.
Yeah, outside the renewal. That's why.
So we are running behind. So I did want to stop to give people a few minutes to ask questions. We did not get to the document library, but please, I do want you to know that we can cover that at an office hours or something. So, or if you have questions, you can. You guys all have a sheet on your table, with all the various ways, contact information for Yvonne and Kaylee, information about office hours and stuff like that. So, but we should probably open it for questions before we move to the next session.
Yeah. Ronnie, there's a question wanting to know exactly what screen, was it the previous screen?
Yeah.
Where that screen was? And I would say anything that we don't go through in this training, we should do a follow-up. And then anything that we may want to do deep dives, we do in office hours. There's a question here too. Okay, I'll come right.
Going off of Leticia's question about charging on the back end, can we add that to how to do it if we're not currently charging?
Yes, so we would just change that setting. But let's take a look at that. If you don't mind, I'd like to look at that later with you. What is your name?
Your name. She wants to know your name.
Vicky.
Vicky.
On there, it's Maria.
What chapter? Oh, Copper. It's just for the Copper chapter.
Right, but I'll email you if I know your name.
Yes, B. Edwards, Vicky Edwards.
Oh, so it's Edwards. Okay.
That's me.
Okay. Sorry about
And
that.
it's Copper chapter, right? Yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions? If not, I can go. I wanted to just bring up a couple more things in People Manager because it is a very.
I've got a quick question. I'm sorry. So can I ask you a quick question about, we were, in our chapter, the Arizona State Capitol chapter, we were thinking about creating an opportunity for, cooperative agencies, cooperative, folks that work in cooperatives that aren't necessarily a public employee to be members. And is that possible? The concern that we had at the chapter was we were concerned if we did that, they would have access to, they would have access to the member list and all those benefits that you can see inside a member can see. Is it possible to have some type of a special membership granted for a group of folks where you don't want to give them access to some of the things that would make our regular members a little bit queasy? It's like, I don't want my contact information available. Is there such a thing?
Yes, if you notice here, I'm logged in and I have this little testing tab. When you set up your member types, you have the ability to decide what menu they see. So let's look at this one here. I have the website menu as default. Okay. Now I could, and this is that we're going to go over this in the next hour, but because we seem to run out of time, we can talk about it real quick now. Under the website tab, again, only certain people are going to have access to this. So you might not have access. If you don't, you're going to have to talk to your admin. So under the website tab is menu. And this is where you can create multiple menus. And I'm going to create a menu here that I am going to call add agency. And I am going to have the same things on here. I want membership directory. I'm going to put that there. Okay. So now what I would do is then so now I have 3 menus, and this one is actually a member menu. And oops, sorry. It's not the main member menu, so I'm actually going to do this one here. So now this agency, what I would do is I would go to the member type agency, and that is under the people options, member types, agency, edit, and now I will change their menu to the agency menu. And I believe my test member in here is an agency. There you go. So again, it wants me to renew him, but now that's the menu. Whatever I set up here is the only thing that membership type will see when they're logged in.
But they see the home page and yes, it would just be the
Yeah.
navigation, right?
Right.
Just the navigation.
Yeah, what I would do is I mean, I just did it quickly on the fly, but I would set up it sounds to me like what you're doing is you're trying to limit them. This one, you're trying to limit that they're not going to have access to the membership handbook. So what you would do is what chapter did you say you were with Arizona State?
Yep.
So what you would do is you would go in here and you would, this one might be a little bit more involved. Your okay, you have member directory under member resources. So basically you want them to have all this access, everything up here except this. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So what you would have to do is you're going to have to create 2 member resources. So that's the first thing. Let me increase the size. Sorry about that. So we would go to website, menus, and you have your sub menu here of member resources. And I'm just going to take a little snippet here so I know what it is. And then close out of there. And I'm going to add a sub menu. You can't add the sub menu as the same name, but you kind of can. So I'm going to go resources and I'm going to put an extra space after that. And then I'm going to copy over what was in there, which was documents. And I'm not going to pull over directory. I'm going to pull over forums and helpful web links and job boards. And then save. So now when you name them the same, it gets a little trickier because you got to remember which one's which. This member resources has the member directory, the other member resources, the second one doesn't. Then I'm going to go up to the member menu and I'm going to edit. And I'm going to grab a little screenshot of that. And then I'm going to add a menu. And I don't know, I'm just going to put in here test menu, okay? And I'm going to pull over I'm filtering by my submenus. And I'm going to pull over the about, the member resources, which I want the second one, procurement, and contact. And then you also had home page in here. Now I want home page to be first, so I can either pull it over, it's going to drop in here and then I can move it up, or if I click on this and then I pull over home, it's going to automatically put it above that one. And then I hit save. And now I've got that other test menu. And I would assign that to whatever membership type you have. So if you have a new membership type that you're creating, and I'm not going to do it, of course, you would go to the People tab, Member Types, and you would create your new member type. And when you add your new member type under Website Menu, you would assign that menu to that member type. And then they won't get access to the member directory. Okay?
Well, it looks like you don't really have much break time, Yvonne, so I guess we'll just move on to the last